I'm Kimberly Prather. The ACU Wildcats are 4-0, heading into their first LSC South Division game of the season.
And I'm Grant Boone. The Greyhounds of Eastern New Mexico race into town tonight with the #1 passing offense in the nation. We'll preview the Cats and Dogs, look back on a blowout victory last week, and go deep with ACU quarterback Zach Stewart. It's the Chris Thomsen Show next. Welcome to the Chris Thomsen Show. Kimberly, Grant, and the ACU head football coach, Chris Thomsen. Coach, your 4-0 record on the line tonight against Eastern New Mexico. I know every game is important to you, but I also know that these games have extra significance because these are against South Division opponents starting tonight against Eastern.
Yeah, the South Division is such a tough division in college football, and this is our first South Division opponent. Eastern New Mexico has always given us trouble, and it's been a great rivalry over the years, so we're looking forward to the game.
I think it's fair to say that last year ACU definitely had a powerhouse offense. This year it seems like defense is winning the games. What has your defense done to prepare for this week's game?
Well, we've just had a frantic pace in practice. First of all, Eastern New Mexico just comes at you from all different directions and as fast as they can on offense. So our tempo is always good in practice, but it's picked up double this week because of the pace of the Greyhounds. We're
going to try to get this show done in 15 minutes this week, just to mirror what Eastern's going to do offensively, right?
As fast as we can go.
Well, we'll actually have Coach Jason Johns, your defensive coordinator, on set with Brandon Tripp later in the show to break down that high-octane Greyhound offense. And when we come back, we'll take a look at last week's 33-14 victory over Southeastern Oklahoma State. That was last Saturday night. More of the Chris Thomsen Show when we return in a moment. Welcome back to the Chris Thomsen Show. We're going to look at highlights, Coach, of last week's win over Southeastern Oklahoma State. First, that team had come in off of a big win over Eastern New Mexico the week before, and I know you've got a lot of respect for Ray Richards.
Yeah, Ray Richards and his staff do a great job, and they had scored, almost 50 points the week before, so it was a great performance by our defense to come in and really shut them out in the first half. Just an exceptional job by our coaches and our players on the defensive side, and able to get some stuff going in the special teams game and on offense that really helped us win the game.
All right, take you back to last Saturday night, Shotwell Stadium, ACU Southeastern Oklahoma State. You guys win the toss, elect to defer to the second half, so you go on defense first, and Reggie Mathis on the very first series comes up with his first career pick.
Well, when we were hoping to win the toss and put the defense out first, and like I said, Reggie's first pick, he's made a lot of big plays for us, but that's his first interception, gave the offense great field position.
Yeah, and from there, you guys miss a field goal. When they come back and get the ball the next time on offense, Aston Whiteside bottles up Balin Laurie, who came into the game as the #1 rusher. He didn't leave that way.
Yeah, Laurie's a very explosive guy, and they're running the option there, which is a little bit difficult to defend, but Ashton did a great job on that play.
All right, big play early in the first quarter, 4th and 1. You guys elect to go for it, and Daryl Richardson makes you look like a genius there with that play.
Yeah, you figure with big Travis Turner on the right side there, you can get 1 yard and then end up getting a lot more on the play and end up a great field position. I think we converted this into a score.
Yeah, and that field judge there caught the brunt of the end of that play, but Daryl made that play pay off, and then that set up this big play on 2nd and 13. Zach to Edmund Gates, and Edmund's first touchdown of the season.
Yeah, we've been working the fade route, and Edmund's not only a really fast guy, but really has great ability to jump. So Zach put the ball in a great position. He went up and made a great play.
7-0 after the extra point, and then after you force Southeastern Oklahoma State to punt, it gave Kendrick Johnson a chance to do what he does best, and here he goes for his second 70-plus punt return for a touchdown this season with a little help from his friends, including Major Colbert, springing him at about the 45-yard line.
Yeah, Major was had one of the key blocks on Drew Cuffey's return at the end of the Commerce game, and has really excelled for us on defense and on special teams, but a great return by Kendrick and a great effort by that whole unit in the punt return game.
So Kendrick Johnson winning Special Teams Player of the Week in the South division last week because of his exploits after ACU gets the ball back, leading 14-0. Zach goes up top to Edmund Gates. This really has been the first play of its type with Zach to Edmund. I know Mitchell Gale had one to Radway earlier, but you love to go down the middle over the top to Gates.
Yeah, we wanted to come out in this game and get the ball down the field, and Edmund did a great job on the route, and Zach with a great throw and great protection by the offensive line. Those guys did a nice job.
3 catches for 67 yards for Edmund Gates. And what a heads-up play by Kendrick Johnson, and some amazing athletic ability here. First of all, to catch it on the bounce and then somehow stay in bounds there for a 43-yard punt return.
Yeah, that's one of those plays where you're telling him, get away from it, and then, wait a minute, good return type deal. But, he's a very explosive guy and has great feet, and he's going to cause people problems all year.
And one play after this big 43-yard punt return from Kendrick Johnson, Zach Stewart out into the flat to Darrell Richardson, and Richardson does the rest. From 28 yards out, a touchdown for Darrell.
Little swinger out there. We got big Tony Washington out there in the flat, lead blocking on that corner. It's a pretty big mismatch. So Darrell set that up nicely and got it down, got it in the end zone. No
offense to Bernard Daniel, but it didn't look like he wanted any part of Tony Washington on that play. You can't blame him.
I don't think I would either.
Well, it was 28-0 at that point after Southeastern did climb back to within 31-14. A big play here by your defense to essentially put the ribbon on what was a terrific game on both sides of the ball, that safety in the end zone.
Yeah, we really didn't finish the second half all that well, but the defense came out and stopped a drive there at the end and got us 2 points and then got us great field position, so it was a good way to end it.
33-14 the final, and Casey Carr won't get credit for anything on that play, but had the play been allowed to stretch out a little longer, he was right there to grab that ball and run into the end zone. Casey Carr seems to have a knack for finding the football. A couple of fumble recoveries and an interception last year. This year already, a fumble recovery and an interception. He had a fumble recovery last Saturday night.
Well, last year's Eastern New Mexico game in Portales, they run the little speed option there, and they pitch it, and he intercepts it and runs it in. So the Greyhounds know about Casey Carr, and some other people are finding out what a really good football player from Canadian Texas.
33-14, you win it. This is the first game all season that your team goes without a turnover. You win that turnover battle 2-0, creating 2 of your own. It really, I know it sounds trite, but it really does change the entire game when you don't put it on the ground, doesn't it?
Well, turnovers affect field position, which is crucial, but also they affect the morale of the other team. There's a big psychological element in the turnover game, because if you can't overcome those mentally, it really puts you down. I think in this game, I think that really helped us not only get the great field position, but just really win the psychological edge early in the game.
I thought Petruka, for them, coming in place of their starting quarterback, Dallas McCutcheon, last week, did some good things. So, and I know you always like to give credit to the other team when good things happen for them. That having been said, a 33-14 victory, it was a game to me that at least seemed to be pretty solid in all 3 phases.
It was another great performance by our defense, but then our offense, I think, took a real step in just the continuity and just what we're trying to develop with the receivers and the quarterbacks and the running backs, and then the special teams game gave us a big punch. I mean, that return really probably put that game out of reach, and so you feel good. That's what you want to see each week is big time improvement. You want to see all phases of your team take a step. Commerce really beat us in the special teams game the week before, so that was a big area of emphasis for us this week, and you just want to see that continue.
We didn't get a chance to see a lot of this guy on film this week, but we talked during one of the breaks about Derek Odelusi. He's a player who really I thought was the leader on special teams last year. He continues to be a force on special teams. You've moved him to defensive end this year. What has he meant to your team, and how impressed are you with how much he has risen in your ranks?
Well, he means so much, because you really try to convince players how important special teams are, and Derek is not yet a starter on defense. He's a guy that has starter potential. He's just playing behind a couple of really good players, and he's learning a position. But I consider Derek to be a starter. He's because he starts every phase of our special teams, and he dominates in those areas. If you watch kickoff coverage, he's the first guy down at about 240 pounds, and just a very, very physical player. And Southeastern had a great return man on kickoffs last week, and for Derek to lead that group and really try to shut that guy down was really big for our team.
Derek Lucy, a great story. Look forward to telling his story as we go on. Well, a huge challenge for your team this week, Coach. Eastern New Mexico's Greyhounds race into town. And when we come back on the Chris Thomsen Show, Brandon Tripp will sit down on the set with ACU defensive coordinator Jason Johns. You're watching the Chris Thomsen Show.
Welcome back to the Chris Thomsen Show. I'm Brandon Tripp. We're joined now by defensive coordinator Jason Johns. Coach Johns, big game this week, Eastern New Mexico. They have a ridiculously potent offense. J.J. Hart, 575 yards passing per game. Just talk a little bit about how you guys are going to slow that down.
You know, you play a team like this, and the tendency is to get out of the norm and try to do a lot of exotic things. And we really hadn't added anything because they snap the ball about every 20 seconds. So our game plan is pretty simple. It's what we've done, and it's just to put our players in position to go out and make plays. Our philosophy doesn't change week from week. We're going to eliminate the run game. We're going to eliminate the explosive pass. We're going to hit the quarterback and create takeaways. And you know, these guys, they do a great job, but you know, we feel like we've got the players that can go out and play and do what we need to do to win the game.
We've actually got a little bit of their game footage from Texas A&M Commerce. Take a look at that real quick. They do a lot of short passes, but their yards after catch, they get some good yardage after the catch.
They do. You know, they snap the ball so fast, you have a hard time getting guys in and out of the game. Players get fatigued. They love to work the crossing routes over the middle. They hit Poku on the backside. They like to work him on the screen game. And you know, you can see you can see the guys missing the tackle there, just fatigued, and some of it also goes back to uncertainty because they're snapping the ball so fast, and the calls, you know, they're not getting the calls communicated, and makes it tough to defend.
They do a lot of the short game, but they also take their shots downfield, and they did against Texas A&M Commerce. There were some great catches, but towards the end of the game when they took their shots, you could definitely tell that they wore Commerce down, and they were just missing tackles.
Mm-hmm. One thing we're fortunate, you know, we've got some depth you know, across most of our defense, and we're going to play all of them. I mean, anybody that can contribute is going to suit up and play, and maybe playing some guys out of their normal positions just to give some guys some breaks, or maybe create more of a pass rush advantage or a coverage advantage. So, you know, we've been averaging in practice about a play every 15 seconds. We've been rolling 3 deep across the board, and we'll be ready.
Let's talk about their quarterback, J.J. Hart. He's having a phenomenal year, putting up record numbers. He's got 575 yards passing a game. He's thrown 14 touchdowns, but he's thrown 8 picks. He makes those mistakes. How are you guys going to force him into that?
Again, you do what you do, and obviously you can run different coverages to take away different receivers. And you know, and Harp does a great job. The majority of those picks came early. Last week, if you watched last week's game compared with the previous 3, he was a totally different player. You know, the jump that he made from the Southeast game to the Commerce game was huge, and that's a credit to him and a credit to his coaches. So he is playing at a high level.
Obviously, since he has so many yards, he spreads the ball around. They have 3 receivers averaging over 100 yards a game. A lot of those come after the catch. How do you stop them from getting those yards after the catch?
That's something we talk about a lot, and we go back even starting in January in the off season. We do open field tackling drills in. We do a lot of good-on-good versus our offense each week. We do a session called fastball just to simulate game speed. Pretty much every day in spring ball we do 2-minute. We do 2-minute in fall camp. We do 2-minute during the week, and so that's where you, at this point in the season, you really have to stress that, because you're not able to tee off and hit each other in practice, and just stress the fundamentals of being an open field player, knowing where your help is, knowing where you fit.
They move the ball a lot, tons of yards, but their red zone efficiency, it's not the best. They have 27 trips to the red zone, only 22 scores, only 15 of those are touchdowns. What are some things that their offense does that makes it hard for them to score?
You know, part of the deal there is you're limited some in the run game, just what you can do with the way they line up. And then obviously the field's condensed and people go more to man coverages, and it's harder it's a lot easier. You know, people play zone in the open field, and those receivers find grass and sit down, and you can hit them, and then that 5-yard completion turns into 10 and 15 in the red zone. It's more of a horizontal game, and DBs are running with receivers. Quarterbacks have to hold the ball a little bit longer. So, you know, when you don't have a play-action attack, not that they don't, they haven't shown it yet, or you know, an off-tackle ISO type downhill power game, which, you know, they could, you know, jump in, I'm sure, if they wanted, then it makes it tough. The one thing they do run down there that's very effective for them, they run the triple option. So then you've got to not only defend the 4 or 5 wide passing game, but they'll also line up like they've done in the past, and you've got to defend the option out of it also.
All right, I want to thank Coach Johns. You know, ACU has a quarterback of their own, Zach Stewart. He may not have those impressive passing yards, but he is 6-0 as a starter. We caught up with the quarterback for the first time since he won the full-time job.
You know, Clark, myself, and Mitchell, all three had the mindset that we were going to be the quarterback, the starter, and you know, we all knew that any of us had a chance. We had to work hard and prepare for that each and every day. You know, the first two or three games, I believe, Clark and I kind of rotated snaps and about every 2 series, and but it's been good. It's been enjoyable. Yeah, we had some troubles the first 3 weeks offensively. You know, it wasn't a a sense of getting the job done. We moved the ball. We just late in drives down in the end zone. We had trouble getting in the end zone. You know, the game against A&M Commerce at the Cotton Bowl. Personally, for me, the first game I've ever played in the rain. You know, I've seen several games where there's been some rain, but I've never really seen a game where it rained from kickoff until the very end of the game. So, you know, we had to drive late in the game through the interception that got returned for a touchdown, and just went back to the sideline and just told everyone that that was my fault, but that was in the past, and I had to go out that next drive and put it in the end zone, and that's exactly what we did. You know, we had trouble clicking all night offensively, but when it counted, we went down there at the end of the game and put it in the end zone and took the lead. This past week, we finally got a little momentum, got some things rolling, got the ball in the end zone several times, and so hopefully we're looking to build on that for the rest of the season and starting this next Saturday against Eastern New Mexico.
When we come back on the Chris Thomsen Show, the coach, Grant, and Kimberly will take a look at the X Factor and preview Eastern New Mexico.
Back on the Chris Thomsen Show, our X Factor feature this week has double meaning. Coach Johnny Knox has been an X Factor for the Bears so far through 2 games. 6 catches for 70 yards Sunday in a huge 17-14 victory over the Steelers. And not just his first career touchdown, but how about a first career touchdown at Soldier Field in front of a packed house in the 4th quarter late to tie the game against the defending world champs.
Yeah, I mean, that's about as big as it gets for a rookie in his 2nd game. And we're just all really proud of Johnny and really proud to follow his progress, and just can't wait to see what he continues to do each week.
And you were telling me that really he'll be the same guy based on what you know of Johnny, having been with him for a couple of years, whether he catches 10 balls or none.
Yeah, we were playing a game in 2007 in Angelo State, and he caught 1 pass. They kind of took him away, and Bernard, I think, had 300 yards rushing that night. And we got on a bus, and he's just laughing and having fun. It kind of dawned on me that this guy doesn't really care. He's a very humble guy. Doesn't matter if he catches 10 balls or 1 ball. I mean, he's just going to come back to work the next week, and that's why he's been successful. He's a very humble person. And that's why he'll have continued success.
Speaking of Bernard Scott, Bernard had 2 carries for 7 yards at Lambeau Field. 2 of your guys who played last year on the ACU Wildcat team have now 2 games into their NFL careers played at Lambeau Field. Bernard, 2 carries, 7 yards. The second of those was a big 6-yard run on 3rd and 2 late in the game with the Bengals trying to run the clock out. So a nice game for Bernard, and Danielle Manning again making big plays from the free safety spot. Let's take a look at Eastern New Mexico now by the numbers, previewing tonight's game against the Greyhounds. And Coach, when you talk about numbers and you think about Eastern New Mexico, you have to look at that passing attack. It is prolific.
Yeah, the numbers with Eastern are pretty staggering, and they've J.J. Harp's a kid that started for them last year as a freshman and has just continued to progress and get better each week all the way from last year till now, and he's got that thing rolling. Those guys, they've got a couple of really good receivers and guys that you have to contend with, and so it ought to make for a very exciting night Saturday night at Shotwell.
A couple of weeks ago against Southeastern Oklahoma State, Harp was 64 of 94 for 695 yards. I did a little bit of digging. Roughly 1/4 of the teams in Division II through 4 games this season have not thrown the ball 94 times, and Harp did it in 1 game. Okay, you can call it whatever you want. The spread, I think of it more of a splatter because it just kind of goes everywhere. It is what we've seen from teams in recent years, the spread, but it's like spread at a 78 record speed here.
Yeah, it's the difference with the, it's Texas Tech's basic offense, and West Texas runs it, but the difference, these guys do it at a much higher tempo. I mean, as soon as the referee spots the ball, I mean, they're on it. They've already sprinted there. They give a one-word play. I mean, they basically call everything with one word and they snap the ball. If you're not ready, they don't care. They're just going to run the play, and they're trying to get you out of position, trying to keep you from substituting personnel and getting your calls in. So it's a huge challenge for our defense. It's as big a challenge for our defense as we've had all year.
And last year you beat Eastern New Mexico 56-11. This year they're sitting at 2-2. What are you expecting from them tonight to bring to the plate?
Well, just, last year their offense was in the, infant stages. I mean, they were trying to get it. They had been running the triple option for, 10, 12 years prior to that, which is totally night and day different in terms of their offensive line, their running backs, their quarterbacks. So not only are they learning new scheme, but they got new personnel. It's just total, everything's new. But you could see them progress as the year went along. We played them early last year. Fortunately, only scored 11 points, but they got better and better and better. I remember talking to Coach Roboto saying J.J. Harp, I think, has a chance to be special, and that's starting to come to reality. And now 4 or 5 games into this year, they are on fire. So it's definitely a big challenge, and we're excited about it. But it might last well into the night. Everybody needs to come ready to stay for a while because it's going to be a long game.
When you talk about trying to defend a team like this, are you working under that mantra of you can't stop them, you can only hope to contain them?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like Michael Jordan. I mean, Michael Jordan's going to get his points. We know Eastern New Mexico's probably going to get their points, but if we can limit those guys, slow them down, and try to force some turnovers, that's the big thing. That's what stops drives, abruptly, is those turnovers, and your offense gets it and hopefully capitalizes. So that'll be the big key. We just got to go out there and do it.
Now let's talk about your offensive side of the ball. No turnovers last Saturday night against Southeastern Oklahoma State. You're going to lean heavily on your offense to give your defense a rest, I know, when they've got the ball.
Yeah, hopefully we can sustain some drives and let our defense get over there and not only rest but make some adjustments, have some time to talk about what are you seeing, because we'll prepare for everything we've seen, but a team like Eastern with an experienced quarterback and the rhythm that they've got, they're going to add some new things going into the game, so we've got to be able to adjust to those. So our offense will be critical. I told our offense on Wednesday, this is as big a challenge for you guys as it is for our defense, because we've got to score, keep the pace, and then hopefully at some point match and exceed, or we won't win the game. So it's a big challenge for everybody in the special teams too. All
right, Coach, play well tonight in your first South Division game of 2009. For Kimberly and for Coach, I'm Grant Boone, reminding you that the game tonight kicks off at 6 o'clock on the radio here in the Big Country, and on ACUsports.com. We'll be on the air at 5:45 Central Daylight Time. Classic Country 1470 here in the Big Country. For Kimberly and Coach, I'm Grant. Thanks for watching The Chris Thomsen Show.